Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today is another Sporting Blizzard podcast, and I have my father here as my co-host today. Say hello to everyone, Tony.
How's everybody doing tonight?
We have three games to talk to you here. We have Bengals Giants, Vikings 49ers, and Raiders Dolphins. Plus, he's going to give you a retrospective of what happened in the Seahawks game, and I'm going to give you a quick little chat about the Steelers because, well, everyone loves the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minus Cleveland Browns fans, Baltimore Ravens fans, Cincinnati Bengals fans, or fan bases that are just sick of the Steelers in general. But we're kicking it off with Bengals Giants, and if you notice a trend here, it's because we really wanted to focus on new coaches this week, and we're going to start off with the number one coach that we both loved getting hired, and we couldn't stop raving about when the Giants did it, in Brian Dable. How do you think the Giants did in this game against the Bengals?
Well, I actually thought that I'm going to circle around to the offense in a second, but I like their first team defense. They had a lot better pursuit than we saw last year. When it comes to the offense, I'd like to see what Jones can do with the starting receivers, but you'll see that his decision making was a lot faster. He wasn't afraid to get out of the pocket and run, which he's never been, but his decision making seems to be quicker. One of the things that you'll notice is he gets hit a lot, or has been hit a lot in the past, and that's because he didn't have a very good timer in his head. And I don't know what Dable's doing. I don't know if they're just giving him a count and then you got to go, but he's getting the ball out quicker to the right receivers, and it looks pretty impressive so far.
My takeaway on their offense was I watched Evan Neal mainly on the drives he was in, and I was impressed with Neal. I thought he did very well. As we can get into a tackle in a later game we're going to talk about here, he did much better than practically any offense lineman I saw play. I thought the tackles were sturdy for New York, and that hasn't been a thing since their Super Bowl runs with Tom Coughlin. They didn't have good tackle play at the end of Eli Manning's career, and they haven't had it started Daniel Jones' career. I do think Jones' clock is faster. I think Dable's working with him, get it out quicker. It reminded me of Duke Daniel Jones. This is something that he did pretty well in Duke. He got the ball out faster. Come the NFL, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was coaches. Pat Shurmur is typically a guy who will get out quicker, but it just seemed like coaches were telling him, hold on the ball a bit. Because you look at Pat Shurmur, he worked with Teddy Bridgewater, he worked with Case Keenum, and Sam Bradford was there in Minnesota, if I'm correct, at that time when he came over.
Yeah, off of the trade.
Yeah. Then you go to Joe Judge, who brought in Jason Garrett to be his offense coordinator, and Jason Garrett was just working on Dak Prescott, who is better at filling out a pocket than Daniel Jones is, so maybe it was like, hey, this is what I got with Dak, can you do it similarly? And Jones just couldn't do it.
I just don't know if he was able to assimilate the defense and as quickly as you would hope, and whether it's because the Giants now are simplifying the offense so that he's got two reads, and if those reads aren't going to be there, then he can escape the pocket. It'll be interesting to see, but his decision making is a lot quicker. You also notice that he's not going with a lot of the out routes as much as he used to. A lot of his throws have been across the middle over the last two games, which tends to be a quicker throw because basically your guy's cutting in a slant and you have to hit him and go.
Yeah, and something else to keep note is NFL players, they develop at their own rate. Pat Mahomes notably said a couple years ago, I think it was like the end of his third season or something, defenses clicked for him. Defense might just be clicking for Daniel Jones. He might be able to just read it better due to NFL experience. But there was one talking point from this game, and that was Thaddeus Moss low block on Kayvon Thibodeau. What were your thoughts on that play?
Well, it looked gruesome, but it was completely legit. When Moss was cutting back to go with the block, Thibodeau actually saw him, but he had planted his feet, and so he couldn't get his feet up to prevent his knee buckling. And it's sad, it's tragic, but it's football. And I was really astounded by some of the some of the sports personalities that had come out against this and saying it was a dirty play. And if you're a sports personality and you've been doing this for as long as some of those guys have, I'm shocked that you don't understand football as well as maybe you should, because clearly it wasn't intended. It was a cutback block. I mean, that's all there was to it.
I'm just going to shout him out real quick. Brett Coleman made a quick 4-minute little video on it, pretty much breaking down why it is a legitimate play. It's not dirty. With what people were saying is a low block is when someone hits them up high and then you hit low. No one hit him high. It's completely fair game. He's not undercutting his legs. And what happens if he leaves the crown of his helmet and hits a crack block, like Hines Ward used to do, where he hits him up high? Well, that's a flag then. So where is he supposed to block him?
Yeah, I think everybody's just going that they're operating under the assumption that the defender was turned and didn't see it coming. But clearly, even if you slow it down, you can see that Kayvon did see it coming, because he actually tried to go low to prevent it. Unfortunately, his foot just got caught.
And thankfully, he was able to walk off under his own power. Nothing bad happened. This is something that got blown way out of proportion than with what it actually was. But was there anything that you noticed in the second half of the game that caught your attention? Because there was one player that caught my attention personally.
You know, the second half was kind of scrappy. They kept going back and forth. It was enjoyable to watch, but nothing really stood out. It was a bunch of guys that probably won't be there, but they were playing well. And let's face it, they play better than I could ever play. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, but nothing stood out as a good talking point.
So there was one player that really stood out to me, and I just had him written down when I was watching. I'm like, 81, and it's Alex Bochman. He was a receiver for the Giants, and I thought he had a very good game. He caught he caught the second touchdown. Did he catch the first touchdown as well, I believe?
Yeah, he did have 2 touchdowns.
So he had 2 touchdowns. He was getting hit and maintaining his feet. He was staying upwards after hit, and he got more yards after contact. I really liked what I saw from him, and I'm not saying he should make the roster. No, but he's definitely worth the practice squad if you ask me.
Well, he played in some games for them last year as well. So, I mean, he was on their 53 at one point. So he's got a good shot of making the team, especially the way he was playing. And they had mentioned on the broadcast that he also plays special teams as well. So I think that he's probably going to be there. And yeah, he was a pretty good spark plug for them. The one thing I did write down, just the last play not the last play of the game, but that blow up hit by Fox to cause the fumble at the end of the game.
Good hit.
I loved it. That's just what I love to see. So
yeah, I know. Now let's switch gears to Raiders Dolphins, and boy, there was one takeaway from this game, and I'm pretty sure you had it because we've been talking about, like, he struggled. Alex Leatherwood is not progressing well in the NFL. It was a rough outing.
Honestly, both of his outings thus far have been pretty rough.
All 3.
No, because I don't think he played in the first game.
No, he did. He did. I can't remember who it was, but Jaguars defenders were just beating him up. I distinctly remember him because he was the number one guy I was watching on the first game, and I'm like, he's struggling in a Hall of Fame game. And I didn't watch their last week game, but I watched this game, and I was like, this is a first-round pick from a year ago. That ain't good.
No, definitely not. He did struggle. And to be quite honest, I think being a tackle right now is just too much for him. They really should probably look at sending him into guard. You know, that was a big talk when he was coming out I actually liked him, and I thought that he would be a pretty decent tackle. But when you're watching him now and you're watching his feet, they're just slow. He has no lateral movement. He doesn't kick out very well. And that's one of the reasons why he gets as many penalties as he does, because he can't move his feet that well. And so he's jumping the count to get back so that he's not giving up the sack. And he's getting caught on that too.
Well, it's not like the Bears have a history of overdrafting a tackle and him having better success inside guard. But do you remember what I was saying about Leatherwood when he was coming out, who I said he reminded me of?
No, to be honest.
Eric Flowers. And what did Flowers have success in?
Oh, being a guard.
Yeah. I think Leatherwood, he's strong. You can clearly watch him. He's a strong guy. But as you said, his lateral movements is not good enough for an NFL tackle. So with what I did was, I was like, what point do we see a matchup where Leatherwood's going to get Carr in trouble? I want to see what game their schedule it was. Do you know who they play week 1?
No, I do not.
The Los Angeles Chargers. Who do the Chargers have as pass rushers?
Bosa and Mack.
Yeah. And let's go the following week to the Arizona Cardinals. They don't have Chandler Jones anymore, but they got this pretty good guy named J.J. Watt, if you've heard of him. Titans, Harold Landry. Broncos, Bradley Chubb. Chiefs. Okay, they don't have an elite pass rusher, but you go down. They play the Saints. They play the Jags. They play the Colts. They play the Broncos again. Seahawks. Can you imagine what Boye Mafe is going to do to him with how fast he is off the edge?
Oh, it would be nice to see that happen. Like I said, I honestly don't think that it's going to. He's going to stay at a tackle.
No. The thing is, though, if he starts week 1, it's against the Chargers. This is going to get Carr killed.
Yeah, but you have to remember, though, he's played against these players before. So.
And he didn't do well last year.
No, I didn't. I wasn't saying that. I'm just saying that I don't think it's a matter of he's going to get him killed. They're just going to have to run a lot of stunt and some over pursuit plays so that the pass rush will actually back off.
Yeah, this may come out as like something the Raiders are going to look to address because he probably should be moved to the guard, and there is a tackle out in the open market, which I don't know the interest level for NFL teams, but would you be surprised the Raiders made a trade for Tevin Jenkins or Isaiah Wynn?
I would think probably more Wynn than Jenkins, specifically because McDaniels comes from the Patriots, and so if he liked him, then I can honestly see that. But if he doesn't make a trade for him, then maybe that's the doom for Wynn as well, that he can't work in that setup. So I'm actually replaying this game while we're talking about it, and he just gave up a sack to Seiler. So
yeah, I was just watching him. I'm like, every other play was a pressure he gave up. But there are other players I want to talk about in this game. I don't want to keep on burying Alex Leatherwood, even though his play kind of did that for himself. I want to talk about the quarterback situation in Miami and what quarterback impressed you the most in that game.
Actually, I really liked Tua. I thought that he did a really good job. I think that if the O-line can hold up and give him a little bit of time with the receivers they have, with the tight end they have, the running backs can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they should have a pretty decent run game because, that's what this coaching staff is known for. So I think that all told, Tua, if he doesn't try to do too much, I think he'll actually be really well. He was moving in the pocket really well. He eluded a couple of sacks, got out of the pocket. He moves well, and he throws well when he's on the run. I mean, the knock on him is everybody says that he doesn't have that, cannon arm. But when you're just trying to throw it 10 or 15 yards, you don't need a cannon for an arm. You just need accuracy, and you need to have zip, but Nobody has to be Brett Favre to throw it 15 yards.
This is a change of roles. I've been the Tua defender of the two of us. I think Teddy's going to be the starter by the end of the year. That was my takeaway watching this. Because when I was watching Teddy, there was one guy that came in mind, who he reminded me of. That was Jimmy Garoppolo. This staff just comes out using Jimmy Garoppolo, going to the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying the Dolphins are nearly talented enough. I still think they have some growth to get there. Their O-line's nowhere as good as the 49ers. But I was watching it, I'm like, you give Teddy a running game, he can be your Jimmy G. They have a good defense in place. They kept their defensive coordinator from their previous staff. And they have the talent on the defense. You got Jalen Phillips, who I loved coming out of college. And you have Xavier and the other cornerback, Bryce Jones.
Yeah.
You have them on the outside for corners. They have the talent. I see Teddy being the starter by the end of the year. And this is nothing against Tua. I'm still a Tua guy, but I was watching him and I just felt comfortable with Teddy. I felt reliability, which I haven't felt with Tua in the NFL yet. Now, can Tua get to that point? Absolutely. But watching this overall, Teddy was the vet that I felt just played better and constructed the offense better.
The one thing I would say about that, though, is last year Teddy was in Denver, and Denver had a strong running game. I mean, they had two dynamic running backs, and they have a lot of weapons as well. And they had a pretty decent offensive line. He just didn't do much with it. And you liken him to Jimmy G. I would argue that that's what Tua is a more mobile Jimmy G. He still doesn't really like to throw deep out routes. So he's an interior of the field guy, or the quick outs, but nothing sideline to sideline that are deep. And that's we'll see that later this year if they do attack that. That's one of the reasons why the 49ers wanted to get away from Garoppolo, is because they wanted to be able to attack more of the sideline down the field to open up the interior where Shanahan is deadly.
Yeah. But to be honest, they weren't my favorite quarterback to watch in this game, though. When Skylar Thompson got in, it was a fun game. He was making crazy throws, and Esma, the wide receiver for the Dolphins that kept on making spectacular plays, butchering his name, I'm well aware of that. He was fun. Skylar Thompson was fun. Like, I had a lot of fun watching that fourth quarter for the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's one of the things about preseason, is that you get to see a lot of players that you wouldn't see. And they're doing anything and everything they can to make the team. So they throw their bodies out there carelessly. I was actually going to bring up number 96 for the Raiders, Bauer. I don't know if it's Tayshaun or whatever else from Minnesota, but I really liked his play too. There was that one play in the first quarter where the Dolphins running back made a cut, ran, and just basically like bounced off of him and fell down. And I just thought it was great because he had shed the block to get to that position. And I saw him do a couple other really nice plays as well. So, and he's like third on their depth chart, in third string. So, it is a lot of times really interesting to see what some of these players can do. So you would hope that some of them make the team. The rest of the Dolphins that we are talking about, looks like that they are attacking the run game. They're really trying to do that. So that was impressive to see. And I mean, truth be told, this was an interesting game as well. But going back to Tua, he was super accurate and he moved the offense pretty well. So like I said, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I don't really think there were any real big negatives from this game. I overall thought this was a very fun game to watch. Nick Mullins, who played for them, is no longer there. He's on the team we're going to talk about next, and We're going to get into why he's there now. But I really had a fun time watching this game. I picked apart Leatherwood, but overall, this game was probably the most fun I've had watching preseason outside of my own team. Now, to talk about the next game is Vikings 49ers, and my takeaway from this game is, good God, the Vikings need to trade for a backup quarterback, and they did.
Oh, absolutely. I have on here that I really am not a fan of either Mannion or Mond. I was really excited to be able to talk about it. Neither one just flashed at all. I mean, Mond, when he broke out of the pocket, he was kind of timid to run. They didn't really have a lot of good reads. Their accuracy wasn't all that great. Their line play wasn't bad. I mean, they did have time. So I just wasn't wowed by them. And lo and behold, they trade for Mullins. And so then you're like, well, there you go. I mean, it's kind of like the proof was in the pudding there. They didn't even wait for us to do the podcast before they went through and made a trade.
Well, I was watching it. I'm like, how much do you want to bet the Vikings called about Sudfield during that game? They're probably like, we need someone. That Nate guy's playing pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about quarterbacks, though, I really liked Purdy for the 49ers.
Could you say he's a pretty good quarterback?
You should really edit that.
That is going in. Everyone will know the torture of that joke. Everyone.
He did a really good job. He moved around in the pocket well. He made some really nice runs when there was nothing there. One of the things that I did on this game, simply because since Seattle is in the same division with the 49ers and the Rams, so you have both Shanahan and McVay, I charted the throws for the 49ers and then the running. So they had, during that game, 25 runs, 10 yards or less. They had 10 throws to the left, 8 throws to the right, 10 throws to the middle. And when you go over 10 yards, they had 3 throws to the left. They had 3 throws to the right. 2 of those were scrambling and just throwing them away. And then they had 7 deep throws down the middle. So clearly, 17 throws are attacking the middle of the field. And that's where Shanahan is dangerous. He loves to use his tight ends there. And that's one of the things that they're really hoping that Trey Lance can do, is extend the field more on the left and the right in the deep, so that it pushes out the boundaries and it leaves the middle of the field a lot more open, so that when Kittle does catch the ball and rumbling for 20 yards or so, everybody's not on him instantly, because that's the part of the field that they have to defend. So I thought that it was pretty telling that that's where they're going, and that's one of the reasons why they actually went after Trey Lance, is because he does have a cannon for an arm. One of the other things I noticed on their offense is that number 41, Willis, I think he's who they thought Sermon was going to be, because Sermon was, once again, less than impressive. And Willis, yeah, he was in the fourth quarter, but he's a load. I mean, he moved people, and he had a nice little burst as well. So I was pretty impressed with him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the team.
Was it Mason? Are you sure it wasn't Mason?
Number 41, I thought it was Willis, but maybe it was Mason.
I'm pretty sure his name was Mason. You look that up. I have a bone to pick with Kyle Shanahan. And my bone is, play Trey Lance. I know you're going to say, well, he's their starter. They don't want to get hurt. Okay. He's entering his second year, but he's really a rookie. I am a big Trey Lance fan. I told you he was going to be the third overall pick when it was going to happen. I don't think he has earned the opportunity to sit out preseason games. He has not earned that right. He is still developmental. This is where the 49ers are at right now. We don't know where they are because we don't know about their quarterback. We need to see Lance get more reps so he can go in the film room. He can go break it down with his coaches, because how many career passes does he have in total, combining the NFL and college? Not many. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I know it's under 200. So when
they say that he's only done 386, I think, from college and what he played last year.
Really? I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know if that's exactly accurate. How many years did he play at NDSU? He played one game and was only one full season?
Yeah.
Well, no, that might be right, I guess.
That's attempts. That's not completion. That's just attempts.
Well, no, I'm still thinking if that attempts would add up properly, because NDSU is well known. And listen, we're fans of FCS football. We watch NDSU. They run the ball. They run it, they run it, they run it, they run it. But Trey Lance is not in the position that you need to sit him out preseason games. He's not Matthew Stafford. He's not Kyler Murray. And I reference them because they're in the same division. They've at least proven they can play every Sunday. Trey Lance has not yet. So I think it's poor management of your potential franchise quarterback keeping him on the bench. Got anything to add?
No, I mean, it is Jordan Mason. You were right.
Yeah, Team Jordan.
No, I honestly think they should be trying to get Trey Lance as many opportunities as possible as well. However, maybe they're trying not to get any of the defenses that they're going to be going up against early, any tape on him to see what he does wrong. Because if he's not going to be going up against starters and you still see things to struggle, then it's safe to say that when you put him out against, your number ones, that it'll cause a lot more issues. So maybe they're just using kid gloves that way so that nobody has tape and can see what he's doing until it's actually time.
Okay, he has 318 career college attempts. From what I can see, playing the FCS, not whatever I was saying, the FCS playoffs helped him a lot in that category. So he does have over 300 passing attempts.
And that's just in college. Plus, he did throw the ball some last year as well.
He started against the Texans, and I believe he came in a couple times last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they're in a position they can sit him. He should be playing, and maybe he is Pat Mahomes 2.0, where people question him, and I'm a Trey Lance fan. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying all this. I like him a lot, but I don't think he's in the position you can say he doesn't need to play. Because what's the one thing people have been saying about training camp with him so far? He's
highly ill.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster. He's going to hit his throws, but he's going to miss the throws. He's going to hit them, he's going to miss them. It's going to be that all season long, which makes me think it'd be pretty good if he got some more reps in for him in a game. And you can say, well, it's preseason. These guys aren't playing hard. Some of them need to make a roster. They're playing hard. But do you have anything else to add from this game?
Yeah, I really, really liked Ty McGill for the Vikings. I thought overall the Vikings defense in the first half played really well. So it'll be interesting to see how the coaching takes that. I didn't really like some of their play calling on the offense. I know he's a new head coach, but you're also trying to practice situational football. It's not always about winning in the preseason. It's about taking opportunities to do things during the game where it might come up when it actually means something. And they know what their punters are going to do. I really liked how San Francisco kept well, it's 4th and 2. We're going to go for it. It doesn't matter because the game doesn't matter. And so they were using their opportunities a lot better for situational football to run different formations and see what the players that were playing could actually do in a real game situation.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell's a mystery as a new coach just because he's never called a play. And maybe he has called some plays, but Sean McVay is the Rams offense coordinator. Sean McVay is the Rams offense. It's like with Zach Taylor when he went to Cincinnati, it was rough his first year. And I like the Vikings a lot. I think they have a lot of talent. I think the Vikings are in a much better spot for Kevin O'Connell than the Bengals were when Zach Taylor got to Cincinnati. But we don't know about Kevin O'Connell, and that's going to lead me to the last question about these new coaches. Out of the new coaches we saw, who do you have the most faith in winning their team's games? That comes down to a crucial fourth down decision, or I got to do this play, or I got to play this player, or just who do you think is in the best spot to win their team's games?
Well, I think that Minnesota has by far one of the better teams of the teams where they have new coaches. I'd say talent wise, it's Minnesota and Miami, but
I'd throw the Raiders in there.
my bad, the Raiders as well. Um, and so because of that, because you brought them up, it would have to be a toss up between the Raiders or the Giants. And that's strictly because I really like Dable. And I think that he is going to turn things around for the Giants a lot faster than anybody else says. And he's been he's been in the fire. He with his play calling and everything. He knows what needs to happen when it needs to happen. And so he'll have his guys coached up. And I think that he'll make the right calls on those crucial plays. Does that mean that I think that they're a contender this year for the playoffs? Absolutely not. Um, but I still think coaching wise, if it's just coming down to, 4th and 2, the game's on the line and who's going to make the call, I would go Dable and then McDaniels in Las Vegas.
I I have a hard time disagreeing with that. I'm not a big Josh McDaniels fan, so I wouldn't put him second. From what I saw, I believe it's Mike McDaniel, not McDaniels, correct? The guy in Miami.
McDaniel, yes.
Yeah, I'd put him second, mostly because I'm familiar with what he does. I like the offense he runs. It's a very simple West Coast style offense. And here's the thing: you're going to tell me the better team between the Dolphins and Giants, you're taking the Dolphins. They have more talent. They have a more sturdy running core. Say what you want about the Giants and Saquon Barkley. He has not been reliable. The Dolphins have better receiving talent all around, whoever's playing quarterback, and their defense is in a much better spot. But I will take Brian Dable strictly because that Giants team had to be gutted in the offseason. So many bad contracts from Dave Gettleman and oh my god, I'm blanking on the guy who was just Joe Judge.
Joe Judge.
They had to gut that roster. That's not a good thing if you're Daniel Jones. Like, everyone's saying, like, oh, this is Jones' last shot. Okay. He's got no one around him. But okay. I think Dable, though, is the best coach for this just because he's been around the greats. He's been around Bill Belichick. He's been around Nick Saban. And he's been around, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in recent years, Sean McDermott in Buffalo. He's been around some of the best in the game today. I think that's going to help him when a push comes to shove and it's an important decision to make.
I would say the same thing for McDaniels as well in Las Vegas. He really ate a lot of humble pie when he had his first coaching stint.
Yeah.
And I think that he's learned a lot. I mean, he's come out in several interviews and basically just said that, he screwed up. He was trying to be better than Bill and trying to do his own things, but in a way that Belichick would do them. And I, I think that with his offense and their tendency towards short burst plays at crunch time, whether it be a run or a pass, and let's face it, he is really good at those. I would trust him more than McDaniel because you have to remember he was the running backs coach. So we don't know what he's going to have for an offense. We know that it's going to be similar to Shanahan's style, but we don't know if he's going to have all the tricks when it comes to the receiving game.
And that is true. At the end of the day, I saw McDaniel's time in Denver, and that's left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm currently at the point that I need to see him do it before I believe him. And he can do it. I am judging him. I'm judging him on a prior experience. I'm well aware of this, but I'm going to go with my prior experience and remembering how he was in Denver. Could he have gotten better? Yes. But we don't know for a fact if he's better or not. Now, I'm going to give you some time to talk about the Seahawks versus the Bears game. Have at it.
Well, this isn't even really Seahawks versus the Bears. This is just going to be more of a chat about some of the issues that Seattle's facing. Uh, One of the main things that I would say on the defense right now, and everybody's been really, really down on the new style defense. And what I would say to everybody that's down in the dumps and they think Seattle's defense is going to be completely horrible is that none of their day one starting secondary has been out on the field in the preseason. Their starting linebackers on the inside, Brooks and I just blanked on his name, Barton. Barton is definitely not the answer. Brooks has not played in the preseason at all. If you have to remember, Brooks was second in the league in tackles last year. So you're playing with not having him out there on the defense. That'll definitely shore up their defensive tackling. I really think that before the start of the season, Seattle will either make a trade for an interior linebacker or pick up somebody on the waiver wire that they think would work well for them. They don't need a Roquan Smith. It'd be nice, but they don't need anybody like that. They just need somebody that is going to be able to pick up his assignments, roll off of the coverages, and make the tackles because none of the linebackers that played against the Bears on the interior linebackers did that at all. Everybody was bagging on Marquise Blair, and I understand that when you see he missed a tackle and he missed another tackle, but what you're not seeing is that he's coming off of his own players and trying to basically fill some gaps where some of the other secondaries players are like missing things. And yeah, he needs to learn how to wrap up a little bit better, but Seattle's not going to get rid of him because he is explosive and he can be a game changer. He's, like I said, he's trying to overcompensate for some of the other players that are out there. On the offense, Geno is definitely not the answer. Everybody said, oh, well, the wide receivers dropped the ball. And yes, there were quite a few drops on Geno. But even when he was completing his passes, the one deep down the sideline that he completed, it was a nice completion at 25 yards. The problem is if he would have actually led the receiver instead of throwing it behind him to where the receiver had to make an incredible adjustment to catch the ball, probably would have scored a touchdown on the play, but the receiver had to basically twist to catch it. And that's been the knock on Geno ever since I can remember is he's not, he gets the ball there, but it's not where the receiver can make the play and keep going. And that's not what Seattle needs, especially with some of the talent that they have. You need to be able to hit DK Metcalf in stride so that he can keep going. You need to be able to hit your running backs out of the backfield so that they don't have to stop, catch the ball, and then because they're playing in the NFL. And when you're going from a standstill to try to get down the field, you're at a lack. You're at a definite disadvantage. Is Locke the answer? We don't know. We haven't really seen him play that much in the preseason. The difference between Geno and Locke is what I have seen from Locke. I think he's got a better arm. He gets rid of the ball quicker. His decision making probably isn't as good yet, but with time, I think that can change as well. For Seattle to compete this year, they need two things. They need a different linebacker other than Cody Barton on the inside. And I can't believe that I'm going to say this, but if Jimmy G gets cut and they brought him in, they would compete for the division. If they don't have a different quarterback other than Locke or Geno, they're going to be competing for third or fourth place, probably fourth in the way this division is set up. He just doesn't have the skills. And does that say that I think that Jimmy G is the end-all be-all of quarterbacks? No, but he knows the system. He makes better decisions than either one of them. And you have to respect him, and teams do respect him. So on the Chicago side, it's definitely a work in progress. I think their tight ends are going to be amazing this year.
Komet's
good. They have a lot of tight ends that were making really good plays, and that can be one of the best friends for Fields right now is if the tight ends are in the middle of the field catching those balls, because let's face it, he doesn't have a lot of receiver help. They can also help on the offensive line, which we suspect that it won't be as good this year. So I think you'll see a lot from their tight ends this year. And that's pretty much what I have for Seattle.
I'm with the Bears. The main goal is, what is Justin Fields? That's their season in a nutshell. They're not going to be good. They're probably going to be last place in their division. They're probably going to be picking the top 10. But is Justin Fields the answer, or do they have to go get someone different? And here's the thing people got to remember. Justin Fields is the last regime's guy. If they have to cut him loose, they're not tied to him. This is not Matt Eberflus' pick. This is not Ryan Poles' pick. This is Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's pick. So if they need to get rid of him, they will. I hope for Justin's sake it doesn't come to that, because I think Justin's a very talented player, and he got put in a very, very rough situation with the whole Chicago thing. A coach that pretty much forced him to stay in the pocket and would not let him improvise at all or go outside on the run. It was not the best thing for Fields, and I hope Eberflus and I can't remember who the offense coordinator is, but he's from the Packers. I hope they let Fields be Fields this year, and we can see if he can work at the NFL level.
So just a quick question. Do you think that the team that they've put around him is going to give you an adequate valuation of what he can do?
That's hard for me to say yes to, just because their O-line is not good. Their receiving core is maybe the worst in the league. And I like Velus Jones. I thought he played pretty well. I like Mooney. I think he's pretty good. Like you said, their tight ends are good. They got a good back in Montgomery and another one in Herbert, but that O-line is going to cause a lot of issues for Fields. Do I think it's in the best spot for Fields? No, I do not. Would I like to see him get one more shot next year with more invested in the O-line than giving him the opportunity? Yes, I would. But the NFL does not care what you want. They're just going to do what they think is best. If Poles and Eberflus look at this and say, it's best if we move on, they're going to move on. I want to get into the Steelers game now, and there are really just three things I want to talk about, so I'm not going to talk your ear off. Number one, Kendrick Green is not your starting left guard. That should be Kevin Dotson. He got beat too many times to put him out there on a Sunday against starters. And I know the Jaguars had their starting defensive lineman in. That didn't make it better because he struggled against them. He struggled against the backups. It was a bad game for Kendrick Green I thought he had a solid game against Seattle. Wasn't great. There was some bad plays, but I thought he played overall well against Seattle. Against Jacksonville, I thought he was just out to lunch. He was not good enough. He could not get his hands on people. He could not engage properly. And you could say that about the whole Steelers' own line. And I'm not going to scream it's doom and gloom for their own line just because I think that Jaguars' defensive line is pretty nasty. Walker and Allen, every game I've seen so far, they have been causing issues for tackles. They decimated the Raiders, they decimated the Browns' offense, and they decimated the Steelers' offense. I think that front seven is going to be underrated, scary this year. Now, the other guys I want to talk about, and these are positives. I'm going to talk about Mark Robinson first, and this is probably more or less due to Devin Bush. Devin Bush has had an up and down career in Pittsburgh so far. He had a very good rookie year, then the following year he tore his ACL. Last year he wasn't hitting the running holes as well. He wasn't just playing good football. He was a little skittish, I would say. In this preseason, you saw a little of that, but it's hard for me to say, oh, he did this wrong, when I saw him playing with the backups and I saw guys getting blocked into his lap. I'm not going to blame him for not tackling a ball player if you have your defensive lineman right in front of you blocking you. But it's not good because at the end of the day, he's still not hitting the holes fast enough. He's sitting back and he's kind of letting them come to him. Mark Robinson, on the other hand, he will hit a hole and he is going to take your head off. He is a run defender. He needs to work on his pass game. But here's the key with Mark Robinson. He is new to the position. He played running back for the majority of his career in college. He is a brand new linebacker, and he played at Ole Miss in the SEC. I don't know if you know this. The SEC is a pretty good college football conference. So him coming from that gives me hope, and he plays the style that Brian Flores loves. Run downhill, get to the quarterback. Fast linebackers that just play downhill. That's what Brian Flores likes, and he's the inside linebackers coach now. So that tells me he had a lot of influence in the Mark Robinson selection. And last but not least is Kenny Pickett. Now, all week leading up to the game, Mike Tomlin was talking about he needs varsity reps. He had 2 drives. One, I'm not going to really call a drive because it was complete a pass penalty, and there was just 3 and out due to penalties. But he had that 2-minute drill. That 2-minute drill was spectacular. That was NFL starting quarterback material. He threw Deontay Johnson open on the run. On a delay route by Pat Freiermuth, he hit him wide open after zone coverage where the Jaguars defender was sitting. He went he went downhill. Pickett saw Freiermuth, threw him, got the first down, got in the red zone. Then on not the next play, because the next play was a touchdown taken off the board, but the play after that counted was a Benny Snell touchdown. And why was I such a big fan of this? He read the defense perfectly. He had a natural rub with the 2 defenders and 2 wide receivers going out on a play to get a reception or whatever. You had Benny Snell open in the flat. The linebacker has to run across the field to try and make the tackle, but Benny Snell gets enough full head of steam, breaks a tackle, and gets a touchdown. Overall, I love the 2-minute drill from Kenny Pickett, but there is a downside. And he did have 10.9 yards per attempt. It was a very small sample size. This week against the Lions, I want to see him push the ball down the field. That's a big thing I think we're missing right now. He didn't do it early in camp, but he's been progressively getting better at it. So I need to see him take that next step forward. I want to see at least 3 drives for him against the Lions. And if you can do it against the Lions starters, I'd be happier. But even if it's against the Lions twos, I won't complain because I just want to see them getting him to push the ball down the field. I think that's what he's missing. And you saw the 2-minute drill. Do you have anything you want to add on that or not?
Well, I mean, he was highly accurate in those. Like I had said in a conversation that you and I had, to me, All that he did was zone, even the one that you think that he threw him open. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when if you watch the defender that you think was the defender, he turned him inside to the zone coverage. That's not his responsibility anymore. He turned him in. That's what he was supposed to do. He turned him in and then he played off and he took the sideline. That's zone coverage. So is that Pickett's fault? No. He hit every throw in the right spot where he needed to be. Like you said, he hit his guys in motion. He allowed them to make the plays. What did I say that Gino was not allowing his players to do? He was not allowing them to catch the ball in motion and keep going. So, yeah, he made the throws he needed to make. He put them in the spot that he needed to make them. And it was a good 2-minute drive. So that's pretty much what I have to say about watching that series that you had shown me.
So, pretty much out of your thought, as a non-Steeler fan, do you see Kenny Pickett starting NFL games this season?
Oh, I definitely think he'll start some NFL games this year. Do I think that he should be the day one starter? No. But the last time I checked, I wasn't the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers either. So I
Tomlin's
just
got some
think
credentials over you.
one or two. But like I said, even in this game, I thought that Mitch showed some pretty good moxie. And you're right. He was getting a lot of pressure. He was moving well in the pocket and he was getting out of harm's way. Now, what would Pickett have done if he was in that and getting a defender from Jacksonville in his face as soon as he turned around? It'd be a completely different viewing experience, I think.
It's hard to say, and a big thing is Kevin Dotson needs to get healthy because I do believe, by all reports, he will be playing Sunday. We need to see that O-line play better, and I'm sure you know, if one thing on the O-line's bad, the whole line's going to struggle because they have to make up for that one thing. Offensive line is not the sexiest part of football, but you can argue it's the most important part of football because they contribute in the run game, they contribute in the pass game. They're the whole reason that your quarterback has enough time to throw the ball. They're the whole reason your running back is able to get yards without getting hit in the backfield immediately. The offensive line is arguably the most important part, and just like if you're in like a sympathy, or I'm probably mispronouncing that word, but a band, I'll just use band. If one person's off key, off note, it's not going to sound good. The Steelers do not sound good because I believe Kendrick Green is not a starter in the NFL. I think Dotson's a much better player, and we're going to have to see that this Sunday, or maybe it's going to be week 1 against the Bengals, but the O-line needs to improve. I'm all for benching Pickett if it's like, we don't want to get him hit. We don't want him behind this O-line. I get it, because what's the number one thing that happens to young quarterbacks when they get hit a lot? They get happy feet, and they do not do well. If you can avoid Pickett getting happy feet, you have something there. He's clearly showed he knows how to play football. He knows how to play the quarterback position. It's against vanilla defenses, yes, but this is the same thing we've been seeing for years with guys in the preseason who then excel in the regular season. If they show signs here, it's good. It's better than them struggling. And we're seeing Pickett show signs here, so it's a good step forward. But do you have anything to wrap up to say about overall the games you watched? Anything?
No, I think we pretty much said everything. Week 3 is going to be interesting because you're hearing reports that quite a few starters are going to still be playing this weekend. So I'm kind of excited about that.
And we will be watching Chiefs-Packers reviewing next week, and also giving bold predictions and our overall season predictions for the 2022 season. And I know you're excited because you have a couple you're waiting to say, as do I.
Yeah, I've got a couple that I'll either be a complete genius or a complete and utter failure. But I mean, hey,
You already are one. I mean, I didn't say that. But that's going to wrap it up for today. If you like this, hit the like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. Next Wednesday, I have a Kenny Pickett video coming out. I'll be talking more about him and overall what we'll see this Sunday. But But as always, be safe.